Well, welcome everyone. We will go ahead and get started with our webinar today. We are introducing you to a brand new tool which we just officially launched just last week called MicroChat. So whether you are a current Microbit user or you've never even heard of Microbit, that's okay. We're going to go through everything today. Like Cam mentioned, you are welcome to have MicroChat open in another tab if you want to play around with it while you're listening here. I will go through everything from start to finish, so you're welcome to just sit and absorb or play around with yourself. So today we are going to be talking about MicroChat and how it connects to AI literacy, how the tool works, and as well as some resources. And then at the end, talk about a grant opportunity that we have. Christine, do you mind muting yourself just so I'm not getting feedback? Yeah. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So first off, we wanted to just start by giving a little bit of background about who we are. So my name is Jessica. We are from Forward Education. Cam, as I mentioned, is my colleague on the call here to help in the chat or jump in when needed as well. Forward Education is all about bringing coding and AI literacy into the real world. We make a series of hands-on coding and robotics kits based around the Microbit. And then, as I mentioned, just most recently launched MicroChat, which is our main software offering alongside our learning platform. So we kind of do a whole bunch of different things, specifically in the K-12 education space, creating both the hardware products, the learning platform, the content, and then also the teacher education to go along with all of that, which is what we're focused on today. So it's all about educating you teachers on this tool, how it can be used in the classroom, and the resources that we have to support you with doing all of that. This is a little agenda. We are on, I would say, a tighter timeline today. We have lots to cover. So just to give you a quick heads up and overview, we're going to talk about what MicroChat is. We'll go through that live demonstration. So the actual prompting process of using MicroChat, running class sessions. So that is specifically that classroom scenario where you as the teacher give students access to MicroChat. And then also a really fun feature that is a newer one for us incorporating into this tool, which is editing in mate code, which is a really new and exciting thing that our team is pretty pumped about. So you'll have the chance to try that out. We'll go over those educator resources to help you facilitate those AI literacy conversations in the classroom, talk about that CS and AI literacy grant that we just launched, and then we will leave some time at the end for Q&A. But as we mentioned, you are welcome to dump any questions into the chat throughout. If there's any issues, technical or just basic questions, I'm happy to answer them live, or Cam will answer them in the chat. So first off, what is a MicroChat? You are welcome to navigate to the website right now if you want. It's app.microchat.co. But essentially, MicroChat is a tool that will take plain language English text prompts and translate that into code that can then be used on the Microbit. And the reason why we created MicroChat is because even though block-based coding is very accessible for the most part, there still is a little bit of a barrier when it comes to intimidation for teachers that are brand new to coding, not really sure where to start, not really sure what's possible just because of the sheer amount of different coding blocks that exist, where MicroChat drops that floor even lower and makes the barrier to entry even more simple for teachers and students. You can use plain English prompts to tell the Microbit what you want it to do. And then MicroChat, as we'll get into in a little bit, is based around the PRIM model, where it will actually guide students through how to complete that coding, what the code blocks do, how the program works, and then actually running it on your physical Microbit, which we will go through today. So it's both a tool to lower the barrier to coding with Microbit, but also a tool to bring a lot of those AI literacy concepts in a tangible way into the classroom in a way that students can interact with and see in real time. So we're going to talk about that AI literacy connection as well. And then another really fun part about what MicroChat is and what it does is the debugging and kind of the exploring what's possible with Microbit. Because a lot of the times, most beginner users with Microbit will experiment with things like the button, the lights, the sounds, that sort of thing, like all of the fun things. But they're not really sure about what else can be done with their Microbit, and that level of complexity of coding can sometimes be intimidating, where a MicroChat makes that really easy with just your plain English prompts to build a program that might have been too complex for you to start from scratch before, but gives you a really solid foundation where you now can go through and parse that code and understand how maybe some of those more complex coding blocks are used in the program. So that's a little bit about what MicroChat is. A couple just key points here also to understand, and I will remove myself from the screen so you can read them. First off, MicroChat creates microbit success in seconds. So as you'll see here, when we go to demonstrate, just one English prompt will get you a coding output in just a few moments. It's designed to build coding confidence with AI and make code. So like, as I mentioned, a lot of the times microbit and coding can be intimidating for the average teacher that's not well versed in it, but it allows you to really easily see your output and kind of achieve that sense of pride that, hey, I can do this, I can code my microbit. We've built in some classroom management tools, which I'm excited to share today as well. So it's not just an open-ended chat bot. I know there's a lot of concerns, and rightfully so, about kind of relinquishing that to students to be able to chat live, but we've built in some very specific things that makes MicroChat very purposeful in the classroom. And then lastly, we explore AI with monitored school safe access. So as we'll get into here, it's not just that open-ended chatbot. It has a lot of safe guardrails that we've implemented. So we will share more about that as well. So the AI literacy connection, and I quickly hinted at this, but we have specifically designed MicroChat to not just be able to take those English text prompts and generate code for the microbit, but also to guide students through the process of actually coding, running the code on the microbit, iterating on that code. And we've done all of that based around the PRIM model. If you're not familiar with that acronym or what it stands for predict, run, investigate, modify, and make. And so in the back end of our MicroChat system, we have trained that system to be able to guide students through that process as they're using the tool to generate their code. So you'll notice if you're experimenting now in the background, or maybe when you try this out later, that when you ask MicroChat to do something or to create some sort of coding program, it is going to ask you to predict what you think that code might do. And the students will have the opportunity to guess at maybe how it might work, some of the blocks that are maybe used, and then MicroChat will then actually go and create that code for real and then ask students to run it on their microbit. So as you'll see here when we get to the demo, you'll download that code and run it on the microbit to see if your code actually works. MicroChat will then ask students to investigate the actual coding program that is output and answer some questions about how they think it works, what certain sections or code blocks are doing in the program. From there, they'll have the opportunity to modify or iterate on that coding output. Maybe it functions the way they intended the first time and they want to add on to the code. Maybe it doesn't quite do what you expect it to the first time and they need to actually re-prompt it or change the language that they're using when they prompt MicroChat. And then the ultimate goal is to be able to expose students to sort of the boundaries of what their microbit can do and maybe those additional code blocks that they maybe wouldn't have used before. And then from there, take that new coding program that they now understand and develop something completely new, either from scratch or using the make code integration, which we will show you how to do as well. So that is sort of the background to give you context into kind of the how and the why of how we built this tool, but it is all based around that PRIM model. So before I jump into the live demo, I've been sort of watching the chat, but Cam, feel free to jump in if there's any questions we want to speak to live. But again, I am going to jump to this live on my screen. You are welcome to follow along or you're welcome to just watch. Okay, so I now am logged into MicroChat. If you are going to that tool for the first time, you'll have the opportunity to either use your email and get a one-time passcode, or you can SSO with your Microsoft or Google account. We'll get into sort of the details around safety and accounts, but the main thing you need to know right now is that only teachers need to log in and use an account. So you as the educator will use that SSO or that one-time password. Once you are logged in, you will jump right into the MicroChat chat interface, which looks very similar to what you might picture like ChatGPT or Gemini or anything else like that, with the exception that we have this window on the right here where we're going to see those code blocks generated. So right away, if you have this open, we will start by prompting anything that you could possibly think of. And this is where sometimes so many things are possible that you're like, oh, what the heck could I do? But I always like to start off with like, here's an idea of what I might do, and then work with MicroChat to sort of continue the conversation as to what the end goal might be. So I might say, hi, MicroChat, I want to create a game on the microbit using the LEDs. And maybe I'm not really sure, but maybe I say I want to use a specific feature of the microbit. I might say something like, I want to use a variable, I want to use a conditional statement, anything like that to sort of get us started. And so I'll send that off to MicroChat. It'll take a second here to come back with the response. So MicroChat says, that sounds like a fun idea. There are lots of possible games that we could create with the microbit LEDs. What kind of game were you thinking? So I think we should start with maybe a flashing pattern memory game. I tend to have a pretty good visual memory, so let's do a flashing pattern memory game. So we'll tell MicroChat what we want, and then we'll wait for that additional response. And we'll give it a second here while I quickly look at the chat and make sure we're all good there. Okay, perfect. So MicroChat says, a great choice. Here's a memory game where the microbit flashes a pattern on the LEDs and you press button A if you remember it correctly, or B if you don't. Before we run this, take a look at the code blocks. How do you think this game will work? What do you think will happen when you press A or B? And in this particular output here, it's actually inserted some JavaScript code blocks, which is not the greatest demonstration for what I want to show here today. So what we are going to do before we jump into the complexities of what MicroChat can do with JavaScript is we're going to say, actually, I want to create a rock, paper, scissors game. And let's see, because I want to show a better example of what types of code blocks that MicroChat can output. And a rock, paper, scissors game is one that most people are familiar with. So perfect. So now I have a little bit of a better example for us to look at here today. So MicroChat says, fun idea. Let me make that for you now. Before you run it, have a look at the code blocks. How do you think this game will work? What happens when you shake the microbit? So me as a student, I would take a look at the code that is generated here. And it's a pretty standard rock, paper, scissors game. But now I would be able to go back, and this is where this PRIM model sort of starts working, is we can investigate the code that is there, predict what it do, or can predict what certain things in the code might do or how they work. So I might say, I see a variable that is picking a random number between 0 and 2. And so I'll go back to MicroChat with my answer here. And MicroChat says, good observation. You spotted the random number part. What do you think the numbers 0, 1, and 2 each represent in this game? And what do you think triggers the game to start? So we could go through this conversational chat here, going back and forth with MicroChat, either iterating on things. Maybe I want to have more than 3 options in my rock, paper, scissors game. Maybe I want to choose up to 6. But we can go through and continue to iterate on that code. The other thing that I want to show you here is we have designed MicroChat to generate the block-based coding as sort of the most user-friendly entry-level way to interact with your code. But one of the other things that we've implemented is the ability to switch to JavaScript. And so this is a really cool way, just like in MakeCode itself, to be able to toggle back and forth, because if you do have those students that are a little bit more advanced, they may want to see the actual JavaScript output instead of just those code blocks. So you're able to flip back and forth, generating the code with each iteration. Every time you prompt it and ask it to change something, I may be able to zoom in slightly. How's that? Better? So you can flip back and forth. So this is kind of the main concept of MicroChat, is we've gone through the process of iterating a coding program. We've generated that code block output. We can flip to JavaScript if we want. A couple other features that I want to highlight just before we actually go to download this code is this little explain button at the bottom. And so this is a button that we built in because sometimes, like I said, when you're faced with an open-ended chatbot, it can kind of be a little bit intimidating as to like, where do you start? What do I do? What do I ask it? Like, there's so many possibilities. And so this explain button is just a quick way to generate a prompt to kind of use the AI of MicroChat to its best ability and have MicroChat actually explain how the code works. It's sort of like a hint button. If the student gets really stuck, this is a really nice way to be like, hey, can you just clarify what is happening here? We also have a copy button here. This is just a quick link to copy that JavaScript code if you wanted to take that out to another coding program. But as I mentioned, one of the most exciting things that we've built into MicroChat so far is in MakeCode. So before we download, I want to show you this MakeCode integration. So if you're familiar with Create AI, when you generate that machine learning model, it has the ability for you to then port that program out to MakeCode and make additional changes. And we've designed this MakeCode button in MicroChat to function a very similar way. So you click that MakeCode button, and now from here, what we are able to do is actually edit our coding program. So of course you could edit in MicroChat itself by continuing to prompt, but sometimes you just want to be able to drag and drop and change specific things yourself without having to wait for the program to regenerate. And so in MakeCode here, we are now able to continue off with what the MicroChat produced in terms of code, add any additional things here, change our conditionals, change the random variable number, so on and so forth. So let's say that I actually want to maybe change my LEDs. So I'm going to change my LEDs just for a simple demonstration, because again, I want to show you sessions. So I don't want to take too much time on this part. But let's say I change something in my code here. I'm going to go back to MicroChat. MicroChat is going to look at the changes that I've made and then update the program over here accordingly so I could continue prompting. So it can sort of be an iterative process going back and forth between prompting, changing something manually in MakeCode, going back and continuing to iterate on that code. And then the very last step would be to download. So I've already paired my microbit here in the window, but when you click download, if you're not already paired, you'll have those very similar pairing steps, just like when you are in MakeCode and pairing that way and downloading. But then I can switch my camera here to here, and we can see that I've downloaded my program already. And it is running. So when I shake it, I'm getting all of those different possible rock, paper, scissors variations. So then if I wanted to, I could say, okay, this is great, but I want to continue iterating. So then we can always come back to MicroChat. I might say, let's add a fourth option in the game. We could have it prompt that. It will regenerate the code. Let's say, we'll say water, something random. So we rock, paper, scissors, water. I'm just making this up as I go along. Show a smiley face. And as you can see, we would keep prompting. I would re-download the code. I could test my game again. So it makes it really fast for students to be able to take an idea, prompt MicroChat, generate the coding output, iterate on the coding output, come back, change something, so on and so forth. So as you can see, it's added that additional LED option here. And again, this rock, paper, scissors game is a fairly simplistic one, but it's one that most people will recognize the code itself. But if you are prompting your MicroChat in the background while I'm talking, feel free to dump an idea into the chat as to what you were actually creating. Honestly, our team has spent so much time coming up with the most out there ideas just to see what it can do. And we've continually been surprised at what MicroChat is able to produce, and it's really fun. So please share your ideas. I am going to jump back to the slides here for 1 second. I'll pause momentarily just if we have any questions in the chat. But the next thing I want to talk about are the sessions. That's a great, go ahead.
I was going to read the question out. Essentially, if AI is just creating the coding, then what is the point of this?
So that's a great question. We do have a slide on that in a little bit, and it is a valid concern, and it's one that our team has talked about quite a bit, and that is really why we focused on building in that PRIM model into the process, because we know that teachers already sort of work in this way when it comes to teaching coding, where you might show an example and then you'll break that example down and then students will go on and learn from there. And so that's sort of the process that we wanted to replicate here. Is yes, MicroChat is giving that initial coding output right away based on what you've asked it to do, but it's really about how you as the educator facilitate that learning experience. So breaking it down and actually going through the code, parsing through it. Yes, you can test it right away and you can get that output right away, but it's really about that predict, run, investigate, model, modify, make, continuing that loop. And then one of the other things that I'm going to share in our last little bit of the webinar here is some additional resources as to activities that you can run, how you can facilitate specifically those AI literacy conversations, because I know right now you're just seeing the output, but those resources, I think, are really what is going to help you as educators facilitate those conversations and not just focus on the point A to point B. So I'm just in the essence of time, I'm going to keep going. I am going to jump back to our screen share slides. And I'm going to head over here to sessions. So as I mentioned, students are not required to have a login to MicroChat. That is one of the main things that we made sure to build in, because we did not want to collect student data. We didn't want to have student names, anything like that. So if you are logged in to your MicroChat account, you're welcome to navigate to the Sessions tab or just watch. But essentially, Sessions function very similar to Microbit Classroom, if you're familiar with that. So every teacher account will have an allotted number of seats within their account. Seats are the number of live student interactions that can happen at one time. So I'm going to start by creating a new session. And so I'm going to name this session Jess's MicroChat session. You could name this a subject name, an activity, a project. The students will see this. Now for my activity, we are going to say, I see 20 people in this webinar. So we're going to say we have 20 people joining our MicroChat session. So this would just be however many students are in your class, or maybe teachers you're running the session with, whatever it is. Your message limit is the number of times you want students to be able to go back and forth with MicroChat. And the reason why we implemented a limit here is mainly just a safety thing. So we didn't want people to be able to endlessly prompt MicroChat to no end. So just like how if you're using ChatGPT, you might see like, hey, you might want to consider starting a new conversation. It's just a limit like that. And so I'm going to go with 15. This is something that you can trial and error with your classroom. You can up it, you can lower it, but 15 tends to be a good amount to do a basic project. And then we have our expiry. So expiry is when students will no longer be able to use that MicroChat session. And since we're just running the webinar today, I'm going to set the expiry for tomorrow. I will go ahead and create that session. And then automatically that session is going to be activated, and we are going to generate what we call aliases, or in this case, they're animal names. And we use aliases instead of asking students to enter in their actual real name. Carol, when they hit the message limit, it will just give them an error message. You, as a teacher, can either stop the project there, or you could continue to up it if the student did need additional message credits. So as you can see here, we have all 20 of the names that were generated. These alias names you would assign to your students. So you would say, okay, Cam, I'm going to give you zebra. Brian, I'm going to give you eagle, whatever it is. That is up to you as the educator to distribute those alias names and then associate them with the students. We, as Forward Education and as MicroChat, never actually input those students' name into the system at all, so we're not collecting any student information there. In terms of sharing the session, you would click this button, and just like Microbit Classroom or some other tools that exist out there, is copying the session ID. And then students, when they go to join that session, they are going to be asked to enter in that session code and then also their alias. So I'm going to copy that session code from over here, enter the session code in. Then if I am Zebra, I would join the session, and students will port right into that same chat interface. But the difference is they don't have the ability to navigate into that side panel like your teacher account does, start a new chat, anything like that. They are solely directed in this MicroChat session. So that is how you go about creating and sharing the session. You have the ability to edit the details if you need to bump up the expiry, the message limit, that sort of thing. One other classroom management piece that we put in here is a pause. So you are able to pause a session so students cannot no longer actively send messages in the chat. As a way to sort of regroup as a class, stop everybody, get all on the same page, and then you can re-enable and resume the session and students can start sending messages again. One of the other things I want to quickly show here is what it looks like when students are actively contributing into a session. So when you distribute those participant alias names and students join the session, you as the educator will be able to see those conversations in your session details page here. So I, as the educator, am able to click in and see this conversation that my student was having from beginning to end. So you can see all of that history. And then same thing, clicking into the person that I know is Gorilla, I can check in and see what they are doing here. So that's all accessible to you as the educator. Jumping back to our sessions overview page, you're able to see how many seats are currently occupied. So that is any live sessions that you are running. When you have live sessions running, you are reserving those seats on your account. So I'm able to see how many seats I have available, how many are currently reserved, how many sessions I'm running, and then also the ability to archive sessions, which no longer occupies those seats. So that is how sessions work, which is one of the most important features that we built into MicroChat, was the ability for teachers to share access to the tool without collecting student data or without requiring student logins. So I'm going to pause for 1 second while I jump back to my slide. I know we're motoring here, but that is the main demo portion. The next thing that we want to jump into, just with the couple of minutes that we have left here, is some of those safety concerns. We want to talk about the grant, and then I also want to talk about those resources. But feel free to dump any questions in the chat in the meantime. So we briefly talked about this one, but this is a concern that we know exists, and it is a totally valid concern, and it's something that we are looking to navigate alongside you teachers. Yes, vibe coding is a thing, and AI is a tool that students are going to have access to, but right now, navigating what that balance is, how we balance the actual messy part of learning and iterate, is a challenge, and is something that we want to continue to develop resources around and support you as teachers. So yes, MicroChat will output that initial code, but it is really about the tools and that learning process that goes alongside using the tool where the learning happens. So we want to generate that coding output and then break down the thinking of the code and how it works from there. Our ultimate goal is really to enable students and teachers to go further faster instead of focusing on syntax or really basic level understanding of coding, which is still important. We really want to push students to be able to come up with these real ideas and get them functioning in real life in the classroom with the help of AI. And obviously there is still a balance, and you still need to understand how the code works. But we really truly believe that MicroChat is going to unlock a new level of possibility when it comes to working with your microbit, building projects with your microbit, coding and robotics in the classroom. So I wish we could spend more time addressing this, and I would love to hear concerns, because again, it is totally valid response, but that is just our little anecdote on that for the moment. Last couple of things here are our resources. So I'm going to jump over to our learning platform, because we know that a tool is only so good as the resources that accompany it. So we have developed a series of different things here that you as the educator can download for free from our learning platform to accompany your MicroChat sessions in the classroom. So I'll breeze through them quickly here. We have, first off, a microbit best practices guide. So this is just some tips for you as educator on how to structure prompts, on how to structure activities, how to use the tool in the classroom. That is a really good guide to start with. We have a similar resource, but in a classroom-facing poster format if you wanted to print or distribute to students or just hang up in the classroom. This one here is a student-facing classroom slide deck that breaks down the anatomy of an AI prompt, because your output is only going to be as good and detailed as your prompt is. And so this is an activity that actually walks students through how your output with MicroChat or your code might change based on the type of prompt that you give to it. This one is a really great foundational one to talk about AI prompting in general. So that is a student-facing slide deck there. We have another slide deck that you can use in your classroom. That this one is one of my favorite ones, but it walks students specifically through some different AI literacy questions that we can ask related to the AI for K-12 framework. So based off of those 5 big ideas, you as the teacher can go through and scrape out this slide deck to talk about the ones that are specifically relevant to your classroom, what you're learning about, or the project that you're working on. But this is sort of how we can frame some of those AI literacy questions alongside MicroChat. So how does the intelligence of MicroChat differ from our own coding intelligence? What sort of things might MicroChat be better at than you? What sort of things might you be better at than MicroChat? So on and so forth. And so this deck is filled with a whole bunch of different questions hitting each one of those AI for K-12 big ideas. And then the last couple of ones here, this is an intro activity pack specifically for grades 3 to 8 with some examples of how you could prompt students with activities to use MicroChat, as well as those PRIM breakdowns. So at each stage, what are we expecting the students to be able to do within that activity? Predicting, running, investigating, modifying, and making. That is a really great resource as well. We also have these intro activities in a student-facing version on our project library. So you can navigate to those. And again, just some examples of what you could possibly do with MicroChat in the classroom. And then the last couple of ones here, we have some slides. So if you are going to be running a workshop with teachers, so training fellow teachers, whether you're a coach or just training colleagues, these are slides on how you could walk through your MicroChat training. And then this is a brand new one that we just added, which is a student worksheet. So kind of just, again, helping students walk through that thinking as they navigate prompting MicroChat. How do we actually stop and make sure that we're learning and understanding in each one of those parts of the process? So I know I buzzed through that really quickly, but again, those are all available on our learning platform. No login required there to view those. So you're welcome to take a look at what those resources exist. Wrapping up here with a few important things at the end are related to data and safety. So recapping a few of the things I've already mentioned, only teachers are required to have a MicroChat account. Students access MicroChat anonymously through that session share link and that individual alias that only you as the teacher associate with them individually. And teachers are able to see that conversation data of students. So those are a few specific data safeguards that we've put in place. A few other things in terms of safety that I mentioned, MicroChat is designed to be a very purpose-built AI tool specifically for coding activities. So you're welcome to try this out, but we've built in safeguards where if students try to go off topic and ask MicroChat about things unrelated to the coding or that coding project, they will be redirected back and MicroChat will not engage in sort of that outside unrelated conversation. Same thing comes when it comes to personal identifying information. So MicroChat is specifically designed to be able to scan for any information that students may have given it and delete that information, not keep that information. We do not collect anything in terms of identifying information of students, and we've made sure that the tool is designed specifically in that way. I'm going to pass it over to Cam here quickly. I know we're over time, but this one is a really exciting one to talk about our MicroChat literacy grant. So Cam, over to you.
I will first say that, thank you, Jess. We are recording this and we will share this on YouTube and have this link passed out to everybody so you can watch again or share with colleagues, as well as all the information shared and links to this grant. On this grant, if you train other educators how to deliver coding and robotics and AI literacy in the classroom, we would like you to apply for this grant. As a part of this, you get MicroChat licenses for 1 year for free, and we'll send you a pack of many of the resources that Jess shared for you to deliver AI training as a part of training that you're already delivering. So many of you are planning summer PD or maybe late August, September PD that could include coding, CS, and AI literacy. And we would love for you to include MicroChat, and that is ultimately the goal of this grant. There will be a link that we'll share in the email, so please take a closer look or send it to your board or district or local training or team for them to have a look, because we would love to just have them use MicroChat for free. So as a part of it, 1 year MicroChat license, we're going to be delivering training via webinars, and we're going to help you promote your event if you wish to get it out to more people, as well as all of the resources. Thanks, Jess. Keep thinking it's the last slide, but apply, I get notified. We attempt to award within a week and make sure that you can get your licensing and get started with everything as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you, Cam. So I know, again, we're over time, but I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions. I know, Christine, I think you have one question there. So yes, each educator account will have a default number of 30 seats, but you are able to add on and purchase additional licenses for additional student seats. So right now, what you saw me go through was just our individual teacher license subscription, but we will have a district level, like enterprise level subscription where you will have more teacher seats, more student seats. That's just the default. So if you did want to have 24 students live in one section and 24 students live in the other section, you would just need to purchase additional seats to have up to 50 or whatever number of seats live active at one time. And feel free to jump on camera or dump your questions in the chat if you have them.
We get a very lively chat. I think what we'll do as well is probably transpose a little bit of this into a Q&A document. Jess, you got a few new ones.
Yes. If we're working on a project, would the best option be to save the make code and then import again into MicroChat to continue? So MicroChat will save that conversation. If you want the students to be able to revisit that conversation, you would just want to bump out the expiry date to whenever they're going to be completely done that project, because a student will be able to rejoin that same session with the same alias and see their existing conversation that is there. But Carol, you could do the other option that you suggested as well. Like you could bump out to make code, save it over there in your make code account. You could do that as well. This is actually one that our team has gone back and forth about, was should sessions only last like a class period, or are sessions something that you would want to be able to revisit over time? And we are super open to feedback on that, because teachers operate in different ways, different types of projects. So that is one that we would love feedback on. Brian, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was like finishing my snack, so I was like, okay, give me a second to do that. Yeah, so Christine asked, wanted to clarify that. If I have 5 sections in the same class, you're talking concurrent licenses. So if I just want to understand this right, if it generates that list of Zebra to whatever happened to be there, and I appreciate the Z being first, that never happened to me in elementary school. So, but I can assign a kid to Zebra, and then that class shuts down, they leave, the next group comes in. Does it regenerate a whole new list of aliases so that there's the chat that Zebra in second period is not the same as, if it's not going to be Zebra again in third period, right? Like it's, but that's the 30 seats. Am I correct?
Yeah, so you would need to, in that case, end the previous session. You would start a new session with a new session ID, but the aliases would generate the same, but they would be in a separate new chat, as long as it is a new session. If you wanted to have 2 concurrent sessions, they would have separate session IDs, and then that's where you would need those additional seats. So long as you don't want to be able to go and revisit that session, because you would need to archive it, and then the students would not be able to go back into it. So it'd be like a one-time use. You would just need to regenerate a session if you wanted to do something with that same first class. And Carol, this is just something we have launched last week. So we have run some workshops and done some initial testing, but it is still a very new tool, which again, why I've emphasized that we are super open to feedback from you as educators as to your experience with the tool, the sessions, concerns. We want to know how you're using the tool, all those sort of things.
I will say we do have a handful of educators who have brought it into the classroom. And we've had varying degrees of feedback on that. The TLDR on it, a little bit of planning helps it go a long way. Running some of the prompts and understanding how you would like students to interact. Maybe it's time limits. You have 10 minutes to build a pedometer. At the end of 10 minutes, I want to see what people created, what worked, what didn't work, why might they be different. We do have another educator here from Ontario that has included it as part of a 3-lesson arc. The first one is learning AI model building using Create AI, creating with AI as a collaborator using this MicroChat product. And then they do a totally offline conversation about the place for AI in the classroom and use by teachers and students. So just a few ways people have started to use it, and we hope to see many more.
I'm going to jump over just quickly over to our MicroChat session again. So if you are using a MicroChat and you experience anything where you're like, hey, I don't know if this is how it's supposed to work, or I have thoughts, like please by all means provide your feedback, because again, it is a new tool. And obviously we want it to work as best as possible for you in the classroom. So we are definitely all ears for that feedback. So again, that button's just on that side menu bar when you're logged into your teacher version of the account. Okay, well, we thank you for taking the time to join us. And I know, again, we went a little bit over time. I know we have more of these webinars on the schedule. So Cam, I think, will be the one to communicate those out via our email marketing. But appreciate you guys being so lively in the chat.